If you want, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be the totally didn't book tag. I like book tags and doing them once in a while, so this one was suggested to me, so I'm going to be linking the original creator down below. I'm just going to go through questions, find books that are relevant, and have fun. Let's do this. Question 1, totally didn't need to have a sequel. I have mentioned that in the past, but I need to still write about it because the first book was To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny On, but this book definitely didn't need to exist, which is book 2 in this trilogy. There's book 3 which I have yet to read and I probably will never read, but I was so annoyed with this series because the first book was actually pretty good. And I'm not someone that ends up enjoying very often YA contemporary romance, but you know, sometimes I'm in the mood for one and sometimes I do enjoy them, but I get very frustrated with so many. This one, the first book, was actually pretty solid. I thought it was cute, you know, a girl that writes love letters to all the boys that she falls in love with, and then one day they are all sent and she has to deal with the consequences. And there are more crushes than, you know, love, but I mean, she's like around 16 about that. And the first book was pretty good. I feel like it could have been ended well on its own and just be a standalone, and I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But then this happened, and straight up first half of the book, absolutely nothing happens. Nothing. And then towards the end is just starting a second love triangle just because. And it's so frustrating. And it was just so pointless. And it totally did not need to have sequel. And like I said, there is a third book, but I've yet to read it because I'm sure I'm going to be super frustrated with it. So I think I'm just going to stick to watching the movies when they come out because the first one was pretty cute. And I'm hoping the second one will be too. Hopefully it doesn't follow this too closely because nothing happens. So totally did not need to exist. Question 2. Totally didn't need to have more than one point of view. I feel like I don't tend to notice point of views, but in this book it was so obvious that it needs to be talked about. This is A Conjuring of Light, which is the last book in the Shade of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab, and it's a very interesting world with like 4 different types of Londons. The magic system is very interesting based on elements, plus some people can travel between those Londons. And there's like pirates. There's a bunch of really interesting things in there, but the last book is, first off, absolutely huge. There's like 600 pages. So throughout the series, you're starting to follow like 3 different people, and then you're like at 4 different people. And in this one, there are those 4 people plus random other ones. And I just was losing interest because the chapters that were following, like specifically like the king and queen, what was the point in them? Like I feel like they could have been totally removed and nothing would have been lost. And I just, I don't know. I was frustrated with this book. I feel like the series started stronger. Personally, unpopular opinion, I really like the second book. Most people don't. And then the third book was the weakest one in my opinion because it just was so stretched and the characters were out of characters, but that's a different story. But yeah, it doesn't answer exactly the question because they say like one, not more than one point of view, but I don't notice point of views, and this one is just something I needed to get out of my chest, so. Oh, actually, I could also mention Release by Patrick Ness, which, that was a really weird book. I love his writings. I've read quite a few actually of his books, and he's really good at making YA books, coming of age, LGBTQ plus stories. And in this one, there's like 2 point of views. There's one that's like contemporary, coming of age, LGBTQ plus, and then there's like another part that is like kind of magical realism. I hate magical realism, and it just felt like 2 different stories, and I was struggling to go through those chapters. And honestly, I'm telling you, after reading the whole book, you can skip them. Literally, if you don't like them, skip them. It changes nothing at all throughout the book, and I feel like it totally would have made it a better book if all of those pages have been gone. It totally did not need more than one point of view. Question 3. Totally didn't need to change cover art through the middle of the series. I don't know if it's the books that I'm reading, but I never noticed that, like ever. The only things I'll notice is the UK editions are always so much better than the US ones, but I feel like maybe it's more like back in the day, more like YA series that do that. And that hasn't been an issue because I'm looking at what I have on my shelves and I'm not seeing anything that is really an issue. The only thing is I tend to buy a lot of my books used, so sometimes I'll have like different editions and they don't look very nice on my shelves, but I really do not care. I feel like some people really like to have hardcovers and like brand new ones that all match and everything is so perfect. and my shelves are a complete mess. But I feel like doing tag videos, me struggling to find the books on my shelves, might motivate me to actually go out of my way and clean them up. Maybe. The only answer I could give that is on my shelf is Ember in the Ashes, that they recently changed cover arts. So I guess that's gonna be my answer, because I do have it here by Sabathir. Third book is already out, I'm pretty sure. And I have yet to read this, and I did have the old version too, so they did change it. So that works for the answer. I found an answer, we're good. Totally didn't need a love triangle. Oh, do I have so many answers for you. I feel like love triangles, actually forced love triangles, bother me a lot. I do have some that I've enjoyed. I did do a video about my favorite romance book, and actually 2 that I can think of on top of my head had some love triangles, and it didn't bother me. My issue is when it feels forced. And let me show you a few. Exhibit 1, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, which is the first book in the Mortal Instruments series, which I have still yet to finish, so don't spoil it for me. Let me just tell you though that there is a love triangle in here, and one of the people in that love triangle is the best friend of the girl, and it made me cringe so hard when reading it because it felt super forced, and it felt like, you know, that whole like stereotype of like being friend zoned, which that's another thing to complain about, but that's kind of how it felt. Like the guy was like getting mad at her for being her friend, and I just hated it. So that was definitely a love triangle that was so unnecessary. And again, let's not talk about that twist at the end. I could also mention Hunger Games. I mean, that was a love triangle that was so unnecessary in my opinion. Same with like even like the selection. They're all like really good example of like the girl starts with a friend and then a boys appear, and obviously right now there needs to be a love triangle. And my issue is that too often it feels like the love triangle is there just to advance the plot and just have content, dare I say. It feels like it's just there to fill the book because there's nothing else to be in the book. And I feel kind of mean saying it, but that's how I actually feel, so I said it there. Like, even Harry Potter at times felt like that. Like, it just, like, it feels unnecessary to match everyone with everyone. You know what I mean? Not everyone needs to be interested into the main female character that is also bland, but yet all 50 male characters are into her. It's not necessary. Question number 5, totally didn't need this book to be included in this series, which I feel like kind of makes me think of the question number 1, but I'm gonna find other answers, even though To All the Boys I've Loved Before could totally work there too, although I didn't even read the last book. But book 2 did not need to exist, but I could name The Wrath and the Dawn by René Arié, which I already decluttered. I read the 2 books, and I felt like book 2 was so pointless. Like, the first half of the book is straight up people constantly telling the main character how beautiful she is, and that was like my most pity review of all time. I was just saying how she's pretty, but she's so pretty and pretty and pretty, and it's how it felt whenever I was reading the book. I got so frustrated, and I feel like it could have been mushed in one book and I would have avoided all my issues, because it felt like it was just filler until the second half where the fantasy bits actually started. So yeah, the second book definitely did not need to exist. I feel like it could have just been added like 1 chapter or 2 in the first book and just skip it. I could also mention, what's the last book in that series? Akawar? A Course of Wings and Ruined by Sarah J Maas. I didn't care for the first book. I really liked the second book, and then book 3 felt kind of empty, especially for reading book 2. And I hadn't realized that she was stretching this series into, I don't even know how many books now, like 6 or something. It felt like book 3 was again a lot of, we're training for the battle and we're going to this place and that place, and I don't know, I was so disappointed with it, and it felt kind of empty. I didn't feel like I was getting anything, and I feel like if I were to read book 4, I could pretty much skip book 3 and be okay, you know what I mean? So yeah, probably another answer for that one. Question number 6, totally didn't need a cliffhanger. Well, I mean, every time. Just because I mentioned it earlier, this book. This is honestly the most ridiculous twist ending I've ever read in my entire life. And spoiler free, as always, but it wasn't even resolved in book 2, which made me not want to continue the series. I am still planning on it eventually. I did like start book 3 but never finished it. And this is my main issue. The love triangle, like the friend, and the twist at the end. What was that? Straight up weird as hell. And like I like messed up books, but like thriller mystery type of thing, or even weird sci-fi ones, but like this is just messed up on an whole other level. Honestly, you know what? I think I'm gonna name everything. I feel like cliffhangers bother me because it feels like the way books are paced to make you buy another one and buy another one, buy another one, just feels like marketing, and it doesn't feel like that's, it just feels not, it's just not fun. Like I hate it. I get frustrated with it when it's not done well. Like for example, Thunderhead, which is book 2 in that Sight series. The cliffhanger is there, but it doesn't bother me too much because there was still a bunch of content in the book. But for example, one of my favorite authors is Brandon Sanderson, and what I love is that every time at the end of his book there's like a big reveal and a big boom, and I feel like it's enough to make me want to read the next one. You know what I mean? Like there's still some mysteries, but you're given a bunch of info and it feels satisfying that you're like, oh, I'm content with it, you know? Now I want to continue to figure out the rest, but at least I got something. I don't feel cheated. That's what I hate about cliffhangers. When you feel like the whole book is boring and then they put one thing at the end to make you want to read a second one, and you're like, yeah, like I'm not happy about this. So I don't know if anyone else feels similarly. Please let me know in the comment section, because yeah, that's how I feel, cheated. And that's not how I want to spend my time and money, you know what I mean? Question number 7, totally didn't need to have just one point of view. Honestly, I don't even know what to answer for that one, because I feel like I don't notice issues with having more or just one point of view. Do you notice these? Because I feel like, again, I only notice it if I'm bothered by one character, or I hate one of them, or I just want to almost skip the character's chapters because I don't like them. But I never notice that much. Is there more than one point of view in Harry Potter? Because if not, I would totally, like, I would reread the whole series through, like, Hermione. She's, like, one of my favorite characters, so definitely feel like, I feel like we do see a few different point of views, but there could have been more. I would have enjoyed that. Let's just say that for my answer. Question number 8, totally didn't need this much hype, which is, like, one of my favorite topic, like, ever. I'm always telling you on this channel when I feel like a book is overhyped. But one that I haven't actually mentioned, Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This is one of the first books that I've read when I started this channel, / after being almost done with school and everything, after not reading for super long. So I feel like my review wasn't that harsh, and now I feel like if I were to reread this and continue the series, because I haven't done it yet and there's literally dust on this book, I feel like I wouldn't enjoy it as much, / I would probably be harsher in my review. It's one of those books that I feel like there's a lot of fluff. Like, you get, I don't know, like almost 400 pages, but there's huge spacing in between each sentences, and I feel like there's a lot of fillers, and this could have been like a 100-page book and you would have lost nothing of the plot and story. And that's one of my issues with some YA books, and adult ones, let's be real. But yeah, I feel like this is overhyped. I feel like maybe it gets better when you continue the series. Obviously there are 4 books and people rave about this so much, and I like the idea, but the execution kind of leaves me a bit meh. You know, it's a good idea, but whatever. And if you don't know, it's basically Cinderella retelling through Cinderella being, is she half android? Partially android? Something like that. I don't know. It's a good idea, but meh execution in my opinion. You know what? Let me mention another one that will be very controversial, but The Raven Boys. I've, once again, only read the first book, and I feel like everyone's gonna lose their shit over this, but I thought it was okay, and I think it's categorized like fantasy, but I feel like once again it was kind of magical realism in my opinion, and maybe it gets better. Actually, you know what? I am telling you right now, I'm going to be doing a readathon or something with myself, probably at the end of the summer, and I'll read all 4 books just so we can like officially decide if I think it's worth the hype or not. But like reading the first book, I feel like, okay, I understand why people are getting attached to characters and everything. Like, they seem to, like, the writing makes them attaching. Let's go there. But I didn't feel like it was worth all the hype it was getting. So maybe if I read the whole thing, I will enjoy it more. that might be a thing. If you want me to, I shall do it. But really, I'm probably gonna do it. Number 9, totally didn't need a relative book reference. Like, for example, that they're giving Hunger Games fan will love Divergent. I think the most ridiculous mention like that I've heard was for this, which is Les Fiancés d'Hiver by Christelle Dabo. The first book in English is called A Winter's Promise. It was translated, book 2 was recently translated, and it's currently being translated, the whole thing, and the 4th book is supposed to come out, I don't know when actually. So this has been compared to Harry Potter so much, and every time I would mention that people sold it to me like that, everyone would get angry in the comment section and say it's nothing like it. And I finally read it in February, and the first thing I thought was, this has nothing to do with Harry Potter, like absolutely nothing. Yes, it's a fantasy world, but it's nothing like ours. It's not even like, you know how Harry Potter, there's like normal muggle world, and then there's magician, sorcerer, whatever world. This isn't even the case. It's just straight up a fantasy world. And sure, the main character, I guess, is wearing glasses and has some type of magical power, but it's nothing, and I mean nothing like Harry Potter. So yeah, I think it's the worst case of that I've ever heard of, like the worst. So I think I'm actually going to do videos like this. I might have one up when I'm posting this. We shall see. I'm pre-filming this. So yeah, I'm planning on doing videos like, if you like this book, read this one. Actually, I did do a beginner-friendly guide to sci-fi, and that's kind of how I was doing it. Like, for example, if you usually like YA contemporary, read this one. So I'll link that down below. Remind me if I forget. But yeah, I will do more of those because I feel like they could be useful when they're done right. Question number 10, totally didn't deserve my time. Oh my. I have been so much better at DNFing, aka finishing, books that I don't think deserve my time. I don't really see it that way, it's just that when I'm bored, I usually try to read 50%, but when I'm getting annoyed, either because the book is sexist, like Altered Carbon, like so many mentions of boobs and dicks, and it's just so pointless. And I do tend to just put down books a lot more than I used to. But I feel like I look back and sometimes I read books because they might be the new popular book. But then I realize quite quickly that it's not going to be memorable and that I'm not going to really like it. But I feel like I'm hoping I will change my mind before the end of the book. And then I end up being let down a lot. Like things like Warcross, for example. Like I can't even tell you half this plot points because I just never stayed in my head. More recently this year, I read The Silent Patient. My only reaction at the end was meh. Like, how am I supposed to review a book when literally I can tell you a little bit about the plot, not too much because it's a mystery thriller, but then literally all I want to say afterwards is meh. So I feel like those books might have not been worth my time, but I can't know that until I finish it. I'm always so hopeful that the ending will make it worth it, and it just more often than not isn't the case. But maybe one day I will learn. But I don't know, I feel like it's kind of harsh saying like not worth my time, but yeah, probably all the ones that end up in my worst of the year. Although it makes for some very entertaining reviews, so maybe they are worth my time. Maybe. So that's all the questions for the Totally Didn't book tag. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comment section your answers if you want to. Otherwise, I tag you if you do have a booktube channel. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it and to subscribe because you definitely don't want to miss any future videos and any future tags like this. Don't forget to also check out the videos that I will be putting on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.